Welcome to the Enlightenment Academy, where the journey of discovering your inner magic begins. In a world filled with endless possibilities, we invite you to explore the depths of your being and unlock the mysteries of your true potential. Through insightful teachings, transformative practices, and enlightening conversations, we empower you to access the brilliance that resides within you. Join us as we embark on a path of self-discovery, empowerment, and spiritual awakening. Are you ready to tap into the infinite wellspring of magic within you? Here is your host, Venus Castleberg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. So happy to be here with you again today. Today, just wanted to talk about this concept. Some people call it higher self. I call it the true self. I don't necessarily believe that there's something higher than you. So that's why I call it the true self. But the idea is that you have this ability to tap into a knowing that only you have. Like, ask yourself, what do you know that nobody else knows? What are you aware of that maybe other people aren't aware of? What do you know? Like, what's that gut feeling? Like, I know, right? What do you know? What are you aware of? What is your true self telling you? It's often something that I've noticed is like we tend to, like, for, let's say, spirit guides or beings without bodies, or maybe even like you read a book or you do a class or something like that. And we tend to like make other people and other things gurus. So I'll even say it now, and I'll probably say it many times in the future. Don't trust me, trust you. What do you know, right? What are you aware of? And like, sometimes people will say something and there's something that you're aware of that they don't know, or they're teaching you something and you're like, oh, that doesn't really ring true for me. What if you were the greatest source in your life? What if you were the greatest source for knowledge, for understanding, for information, for knowing what's true? And that no one and nothing outside of you can tell you what's best for you. No one and nothing outside of you can give you the answers that you can give you. But there's this, you can hear my dog playing. I apologize, but she's decided now's the time to play. It's all good. I'm sure the cat will decide that it's in time for her to be on camera too. So, but anyway, that, like, the willingness to just be the source of your own life. You know how we're like, oh, well, someone, or even just relationships. Sometimes people get into relationships. They're like, oh, well, they'll be the source of my financial reality, or they'll tell me what to do, right? You were told what to do when you were a kid. And sometimes when your parents told you to do something, or they told you about something, you were like, something about that's not quite right. I have a great example. So when I was in high school, I think it was, I went to somebody said something about Republican and Democrat. Don't worry, this is not a political conversation. But this is a demonstration of all those places where we just take what somebody says as true instead of looking at it for ourselves. So I went to my dad and I'm like, hey, Dad, what's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat? I know you're going to laugh at this. He said, you're a Republican. That's all I got. I didn't get what's the difference. I didn't get, he told me you're Republican. But there was something in me at that time that was just like, I'm not sure because I don't really know the difference, right? And fast forward many, many, many years later, yeah, well, we won't even go into politics. But let's just suffice it to say that I found a different path than what my dad said that I was. But that's kind of what happens. Even when you have a teacher or a guru, like somebody who maybe has been on the path a little bit longer than you, they're not better than you. They're not more knowledgeable than you. They're not greater than you. They just are a little bit farther along the path. Now, so you can glean information from them, but then again, like, what's true for you? So you might be like, okay, that's like me. I was like, my father was a Republican. That was what was true for him. But I had to find my own path. I couldn't just buy what he said as real and true for me. I had to figure it out for myself. So all the places where you have not been willing to figure it out yourself, and you've been trying to do it the way everybody else is doing it, right? Would you be willing to let that go? And just explore. Try things on. How do you know you like something if you don't try it? How do you know you don't like it? Right? This is a common thing, like when we're all kids, right? I don't know very many of us as kids who like Brussels sprouts. But interestingly enough, as we grow up, we tend, if we ever try them again, we're like, oh, Brussels sprouts maybe aren't that bad. But you tried it. And I recommend trying it again. So kind of like Brussels sprouts. It's like, if you know you didn't like it as a kid, have you tried it since? Maybe you'll like something different now. Maybe you've changed, right? But this is the same. This is the same for everything. It's like, find out what's true for you, right? I'm not here to like tell you the right way or the wrong way. I think that there's your way and there's my way. And neither one is right or wrong or good or bad. Like if you're somebody who believes that your crystals get cleared by the full moon or they get charged by the solar eclipse or whatever, awesome. Then put your crystals out, right? But that's something that you have to find for you. You can't just take somebody else's word for it. Do that. See if you notice a difference with your crystals. Does it help? Try just anything, but try things on as if you were a child and exploring and just seeing if you like it. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I was little. I loved climb trees. And I would just climb them. I would just get in there and climb them. And in Alaska, we have some pretty big trees. So, but one day I just started climbing this pine tree and got all the way to the top. And it was only at the top that I looked down. And I was like, oh, I didn't have any fear until I got all the way to the top and looked down. And then I'm grateful for my parents. My mom, of course, wanted to climb up the tree and rescue me. My dad was like, well, you got yourself up there. You can get yourself down. And I did. But I didn't know that maybe I had like mortality a little bit or a fear of heights until I got up to the top of the tree. You don't know what's going to be at the top of the mountain until you go to the top of the mountain. Now you can go by what somebody else tells you, like, hey, I climbed to the top of Kilimanjaro. It was awesome. And this is what I saw. And you can take their word for it. Or you can climb the mountain yourself. You can figure out, you can take a look, see what is at the top of the mountain for you. What do you see? Have you ever noticed if you look at something, let's say a painting, an abstract painting, right? And you're like, you see something and then your friend sees something completely different? That's all of life. All of life is different for you than somebody else. So just taking somebody's word for it instead of figuring out what's true for you and actually trusting you is that, well, maybe that's fun for you, but maybe it would be more fun if you would just trust you and see what works for you and let go of things that don't work for you. You know, maybe you try on a modality, a healing modality, and it doesn't really work for you. There are hundreds, maybe, I'm sure there's probably thousands at this point of different modalities. I've studied 20 of them, but there's a lot of them out there. So maybe you try a modality like hypnotherapy and it really works well for you. And somebody else does hypnotherapy and it doesn't work for them, but they can do herbology or Reiki, right? And that works great for them. Or maybe they, one of my favorite modalities and tools in the world is access consciousness. And there's a whole bunch of tools in access consciousness. I love them. They're amazing. Doesn't necessarily work for everyone. But what works for you? And are you willing to trust that and choose that even if nobody else chooses it? That's the other thing too. I think a lot of us, we choose what other people are choosing because we want to fit in. We want to be normal, right? We want to be accepted. We want to be liked. So we're like, okay, I'm going to do what everybody else is doing so that everybody likes me. Right? The only person in the world that needs to like you is you. The only person that needs to have your back in the world is you. Everybody else is just a bonus, right? So learning to trust you comes from tapping into the true self, your spirit, your spirit. You know how we always look at spirit guides? What if you were the first spirit guide? Your spirit was the first spirit guide for you. Now, the true self or the higher self or your spirit, it doesn't judge you. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't have the negative thoughts, feelings, emotions. It's just here to have your back, to support you. And you can ask it anything. So if you're thinking, I really need to know where to move. And you're like, I don't know where to move. I think this might work out. Why don't you ask your spirit? Ask your true self. What would create greater for us? Where would create greater for us? What matches the energy of the future we'd like to create? And then trust that awareness, trust that knowing. And it might be something you weren't even considering. Like you were considering moving to point A and point B, and it gave you an XYZ. No. But are you willing to trust your true self, your higher self, your spirit, that it knows what's best for you more than anyone or anything else? Remember, no one and nothing is more powerful than you, and no one and nothing knows more for you or about you than you. I know it might seem simple, but it's so true. And I'm just as guilty. 20 different modalities, lots and lots of different mentors and teachers over the years. And I'm grateful for each and every one. And I've learned a ton from a lot of them, or all of them. And I really had to get to a point where, what do I know that I know? and trusting my own knowing, trusting myself. And I'm the only one that's going to know what's best for my life. Everybody else might have points of view about what they think is best for my life, but I'm the only one that knows what's best for my life. Just me. Now, I'm not saying you can't ask for people's advice and you can't ask for your spirit guide's advice. However, it really comes down to what's true for you and not just taking somebody at a blanket statement. So when I first became a clairvoyant medium, I could see the spirits. And I had one experience, some of you know, of like hearing a woman crying outside my ear. And I was like, that's not okay. And I know that I shut that down. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I also know that for a really long time, everyone and everything else was right and I was wrong. So I spent a lot of time believing everything as this must be the truth, instead of asking myself, is this the truth? Is this true for me? But if it was a mentor or a teacher or somebody who had, done meditation for 20 years or whatever they had done, I was always like, oh, they must know and they must be right and I must be wrong. Interesting point of view. So I will tell you this. I'm super grateful that my spirit guides did not talk to me in the early days. You're like, well, how did that work? Well, I was clairvoyant, which means I could see them, but I couldn't hear them or talk to them. Oh, I could talk to them, but it wasn't like a dialogue. It wasn't like you and I sitting down having coffee and, talking to each other. And really, the way that they showed up for me the most was it was kind of like charades. You ever play the game charades where you're like guessing what the person's doing? They would show me like symbols and things and visual prompts to get me to try to figure out what they were trying to tell me. So it was very interesting, long drawn out communication because I'm playing a guessing game of what I think it is. But I'm grateful because what that forced me to do was come to my own knowing. If they had just told me outright what I had asked or known, I would have, just like I had done with every being with the body, every being without a body, I would also have made more powerful than me. They must be more powerful than me. They must know more than me. They don't have a body that's somehow better than me. Not necessarily. Believe it or not, some beings without bodies wish they had bodies. So I'm not going to say all of them do, but I'd say a good portion of them do. Because there's things that we get to experience in this body that you can't experience without a body. Taste, touch, smell, etc., etc. So with this charades thing, I figure out what it meant for me, right? So then the power would be put back into my lap instead of me just buying, oh, that must be what that is. That must be true, right? I had to look at things and question them and then look at them some more and question them some more. And then sometimes maybe my predictions or what I had thought I had deciphered wasn't true. And so I also had to look at, okay, where did I buy that? Because a lot of times we'll hear somebody say something like, I'm sure you've heard it. There's lots of people who have the end of the world. As a matter of fact, I think I've even heard that this particular solar eclipse that's happening today is the end of a reality. And it may very well be. But are you willing to just wait and see how it goes for you? or are you just gonna buy it? I mean, I know some people who took Y2K, what was that, 2000, to very, very literally, right? And nobody's wrong, right? I'm not saying anybody's wrong, but they took it very literally, and then it didn't end up being the end of the world. But did it? Was it the end of the world as we know it? 2020? I thought 2020 was that it was actually 2020, the terminology 2020 vision, and 2020 was COVID. But all of the people, like the smog clearing, and people like seeing the top of mountains for the first time, and dolphins swimming up rivers because they were clean and clear, and like I don't know. I think we did get a new take, a new vision, right? A new experience in 2020. May not have been fun for all of us, but there was definitely something we had to look at, right? So there was a change. There was a different reality that came out of that. Even if we mostly went back to the way things were, something changed in a lot of people. A lot of people realized they could work from home, and then they were like, oh, I can work from home. I'm just going to work from home, right? But they had to figure that out on their own. It was like 2020 was like okay, how am I going to figure this out for myself? What am I going to create for myself? Because some of us, most of the world shut down even for 3 months, right? Where you couldn't go to a job. So people had to figure something else out or spend more time with their families. But it was in the experience of it that the awareness came. It was like trying things and being like, okay, I am enjoying being at home, so I'm going to stay at home, right? So what have you discovered that's true for you? And would you be willing to trust you? Just knowing what you know, even if nobody else knows it. And I know that can be a tough one, because if we want to fit in or belong, or we're looking for this place that we're part of something, then we're looking often like to how we're similar. But I'd actually like to encourage you to look at how much you're different, and how amazing it is that you're different, and what a contribution that is to the world. Because there's nobody else in the world like you. You are unique, and you have a gift and capacity to bring to the world just by being you. Now, if we could just get you to trust you over trusting everybody else. Thank you very much. We'll take a short break, and then we're going to come back and do a true self meditation. I look forward to seeing you after the break.
OmTimesTV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OmTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OmTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OmTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OmTimesTV and broadcasting it across the extensive OmTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OmTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour, If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back forward. Welcome forward to this second half of today. Unleashing your infinite power, embracing your true self. And I would love to just do this guided meditation, guided visualization with you for the second half of our show today. So wherever you are, just finding a comfortable seat, a comfortable place. Allowing yourself to maybe take in your surroundings, look around the room. And then slowly closing your eyes. And relax. Feel your body relax. Let your shoulders relax. Let your jaw relax. Relaxing the crown of your head. And just imagining as if you were having this warm honey poured over the top of your head. And as that warm honey, that warm energy just pours down, it relaxes the back of your head, your face, continuing to pour down, and it relaxes your neck and your throat. Seeing that energy pour over your shoulders and down your arms. Relaxing all the way to your fingertips. Allowing that warm energy to pour down over your chest and over your back. And relax the muscles in your back. Relaxing your chest and your stomach. Relaxing your waist. All of the bones in your back. Relaxing your hips. Relaxing your thighs. Relaxing all the way through your crown, your root chakra. Seeing that warm energy pouring down over your legs. Relaxing from your legs all the way down to your toe tips. Just having this warm energy pouring over your whole body, all the way down into the earth. Letting go of all of the stuff that is no longer serving you, and just relax. Relax into your being. Relax into you. You don't need to be anywhere else right now. Just be here with you. Be here and relax. Allowing all of the negative thoughts, the beliefs, all of that to just melt away. Allowing yourself to tap into your true self, to your spirit. Maybe finding that spirit, that energy, that being in your heart. And then let's lower the walls and barriers, even the ones we don't know about. And any resistance you have to your true self, or your higher self, or your spirit, whatever it is for you. Again, trust in that as well. What's true for you? But letting go of all the places where you've locked yourself away, believing that someone or something outside of you was more powerful than you, that they knew more than you. And then you put all of your knowing and your power in their hands, or in what they say, or in who they are. And just allowing yourself to let that go right now and be here with you. As you lower the walls and barriers, you can pick them back up later if you like to. But as you lower the walls and barriers, allow yourself to expand out. Allow your spirit, your true self, to expand out 100,000 miles in all directions. And just observe, what are you aware of? What do you know? What can you perceive? What can you receive? Allowing yourself to just be aware of everything, everywhere, all at once. And what have you been wondering? Maybe there's something in your life that you've been wondering about, trying to figure out what's right or what's true for you, or what's the best answer, or maybe you have something going on in your body and you've tried a bunch of different things and you just can't figure it out, right? You just can't quite because you're looking to everyone and everything else. You're reading all the books, you're listening to other people, you're thinking that maybe what they said is what's going on, instead of, hey, true self, what is this thing that's going on in my body? What would be the best place for us to move to if we're thinking about moving? Or what would be the best practice to put into play for myself right now? Or where would I like to put my energy and my time and my resources? But ask your body, ask your true self, ask your spirit, what's true for me? What do I know about this? And let your true self show you or tell you or just give you that knowing, that understanding. I had been dealing with something for quite a while, actually. And it wasn't until I started asking my true self what it was really about that it finally began to change. Because I was looking for the answers outside of myself instead of trusting what I know. So what do you know? And you can ask about anything. What would your true self like you to know? And maybe your true self has a name. Maybe your spirit has a name that you can call it. It doesn't have to have a name, but maybe it's telling you right now its name. So that when you are desiring answers or really wanting to understand something or seeking knowledge in some area, you could call upon your spirit, your true self, your higher self to give you that. And start with what you know first. It doesn't mean you can't ask your spirit guides or others more after, but try tuning into what you know first. What messages does your spirit have for you? What does your spirit desire for you to know, to perceive, to receive? What powers and capacities do you have available to you that maybe nobody else does? Because again, no one else is you. What would you discover if you looked to yourself for your answers first? What else might be possible if you were always looking to you first, to trust you above everyone and everything else? But I know we're not taught that. We're taught that everyone and everything else knows better than us. It starts with our parents and then our teachers. But I'd like to encourage you to trust you. And to begin to tap into that inner knowing, that brilliant light that resides in you. That knows more than you ever dreamed you'd know. And every time doubt comes up, or you think that somebody else is smarter than you, or is better than you, or greater than you, or stronger than you, would you just throw that in the flame? Let that go and throw it in the fire. And then tap back into that brilliance, that greatness that is in you. It is in all of us. Greatness is in all of us. Magic is in all of us. Brilliance is in all of us. However, how that greatness, brilliance, talents shows up in the world is unique to you. The way that you understand things, the way that you know things is unique to you. But it's no less valid because it's different. The original meaning of weird is of spirit, fate, or destiny. Are you willing to be as weird as you are, as different as you are? Because the world needs you to be you and to bring what you know to the table. If we could bring all of what we know together, what could we create together? Not from an exclusion, I'm better. It's just different. And yet every piece of the puzzle in its own uniqueness fits together with other pieces of the puzzle to make this beautiful mosaic, this beautiful image, this beautiful experience of life and living. But it's that true self. The true self doesn't know doubt. The true self doesn't know anger. The true self doesn't know sadness. It knows that it exists, but that's not you. Being you is ease and joy and glory. Glory is exuberant expression of life. That's you being you. Sure, the true self is aware that all of those other things exist. But your true self doesn't tell you that you're bad and you're wrong. Your true self only has unconditional love, acceptance, allowance, gratitude for you. There's no judgment with the true self. Allowance is everything is included and nothing is judged. consciousness is everything is included and nothing is judged. So your true self is just aware of everything and everyone, everywhere, all at once. I love that. Without judgment. But you know there are other beings around you. You know that there are other beings on other planets. You know you have the power to heal anything. You know everybody is amazing in their own way. What do you see? What do you perceive? What are you aware of? Allowing yourself to just melt into that knowing. Relax into your truth. And what's true for you, you don't have to tell anyone. Maybe you keep it just for you, just for fun, and never tell anyone. Because sometimes people will get it, and sometimes they won't. And so for you, are you willing to know what you know, even if nobody else understands it or gets it? You don't need other people to validate you, to tell you what you know true and right. And all you have to do is validate you. You tell you that you believe it. You tell you that it's true. You validate you. And when you validate you, when you have your own back, when you will never need anybody else to trust you and validate you. Because you won't be seeking for what you require from you outside of you. This is also a beautiful contribution to getting to know your spirit and your true self, is that knowing what's true for you doesn't need to be true for anybody else. When you're choosing what's best for you in your life, based on your spirit, what you know in your heart, other people may not get it, but they don't need to get it. You need to get it. You're the only one that needs to trust what you know. And when you seek for validation outside of yourself, when you're seeking somebody else to validate what you know, you're giving them the power. They don't know what's best for you. They don't know what's true for you. You know what's best for you, and you know what's true for you. So be willing to have that knowing for you, regardless what if anyone else thinks. Just allowing yourself to sink into that knowing, to sink into you, your spirit. And know that as long as you are here with you, nothing can harm you. Nothing can take from you. Because you are an infinite being with infinite resources and infinite knowledge and infinite capacities. And all you have to do is tap into that magic that is within you. To create anything and everything that you desire to create. And if you want to go shout what you know from the rooftops and tell everyone in the world, and that's what's true for you, and that's what works for you, then go do that. Or if you want to keep what you know to yourself and just have it be a fun little game of awareness that you get to play with yourself, that's great too. However you want to express your spirit, your true self in the world, you can do that. And whatever you choose just invites other people to choose what's best for them too. What would your true self like you to say today? What would your true self like you to know today? Bringing that message forward. Taking a couple of deep breaths. Allowing that that light to shine out. Remembering who you truly are and what is true for you. Maybe rubbing your hands together, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes. Slowly opening your eyes, coming back to the present moment. Allowing yourself to just breathe. And maybe look around the room that you're in again, like you did before the meditation. And does everything look different? Seem different somehow? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being you. I look forward to seeing you next time.